So once again, welcome all. And I think I'll be managing from here. Is it okay for you all, guys? Fine. By the way, just a quick question. Anyone, I believe you might have heard the name of a gentleman named Confucius. Anyone? Sumit, who was he? Chinese philosopher. Yeah. And there's another guy named Lao Tzu. He's also another Chinese philosopher. I was thinking about these people, and I'm sure you all agree with me that these philosophers, especially the Chinese philosophers, they have contributed a lot to the humanity through their thoughts, through their philosophies, through their expressions, through their concerns. And let me quote Lao Tzu. He says that there is a issue in the society which normally we don't understand, but he says that there's no calamity greater than lavish desires. There's no calamity greater than lavish desires, and there's no greater guilt than discontentment. And further, he says that there's no greater disaster than greed. Well, I don't know how many of you will agree with me, but I'm sure I do believe in this. I don't say it's a philosophy, but it's a reality. And maybe that is one of the reasons that every year the counterfeit market continues to grow. And I'm sure you all know the numbers, billion, trillions, and all such stuffs. But interestingly, greed is not the financial issue. In my opinion, it's heart issue. It's the issue of our personality. It's the issue of our attitude. It's the issue of our thinking. It's the issue of how do we take this, the world reality. Well, is there any solution of this? I don't know, but let's explore together. But one thing I remember that as per the World Health Organization, and I'm sure you must be knowing this number, almost 1 million people every year globally, they die because of counterfeit drugs. 1 million. Can you imagine? That's another reality. It's happening. Can we do something? Yes, there are various disruptive technologies available, smart, active, intelligent packaging, whatsoever name we call. But same time, technology often means that we are both victims and beneficiaries of new technologies, new innovations, new thoughts, new ideas. That's another reality. Well, within the next 45 minutes or so, we are going to listen well-diversified point of views here, and we'll try to find out some fresh answers of some executable strategies, as we do have expert panels here, and you can see various diversified experienced solution providers as well as the brand owners in our panel. And they'll be covering the various aspects of complete value chain. So without any further ado, please help me again to welcome our esteemed panels with a big round of applause. And I'll go straight with our biggest retail revolution in India, the Reliance. Welcome, Lalit. Amit. Amit Kale is a very famous personality in the packaging world. He is my colleague from Indian Institute of Packaging. So salute to you for all the contribution to the industry, Amit. The question is, serving more than 250 million consumers and nearly 3 million daily transactions, what strategy do you follow to protect your brand as a Reliance? Is mic working? Please check. Volunteers?
Hello.
It's working.
Yeah, thanks, Kunyan, for this introduction. And Kunyan, of course, my brother, so he will always introduce me like this. So, yeah, we are the biggest retailers, and more importantly, we have our own brands as well, FMCG brands. Other than that, we also host a lot of other brands, like the likes of Hindustan Lever, P&G, or Pepsi, or Coca-Cola. All those are also, part of our retail chain because we are selling those brands. So, if you look at it, our main focus is, of course, we do not encourage any counterfeit in our stores. That is one part of it. But when you talk about brand protection for ourselves, it is very important that we create awareness among people and the buyer to understand what is the right brand or what is the most authentic brand and what is a fake brand. So a lot of awareness campaigns are run inside the store as well, and I think here what I need is really help from the government, because what we have seen is government is very keen on asking people not to do or do things like their personal choices. For example, if you see most of the movie theaters, they host like Akshay Kumar coming on a bicycle and asking someone not to buy cigarettes and use sanitary napkin instead. I don't think it's the right choice, but I think there what we need is more than a personal choice. I think government needs to promote or the understanding of an what is authentic and what is fake, the difference between that. Maybe if they ask the consumers to read the label or to understand the product better, I think that kind of support is required from the government. We are trying our best, but I think mostly we are not able to communicate to the buyer that what is right. Maybe putting a hologram or putting some authenticating indicators. That is only limited to the people who are educated enough to understand that. But our consumers are not only educated; they are also uneducated, rural background, who do not understand these things. So I think that kind of awareness campaign we need to run, where we go to the grassroots level. Maybe in film theaters, we make them understand how to identify what is real and what is fake. I think that is what is required at the moment to start with.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you so much. And may I request all the audience also, please, if you have any question, if you have any thought, any ideas, please either you shout out or write on a paper, pass on to me so that we can address your concern also. Also, the suggestions are welcome. So please be open. And it reminds me that when parachute and mind works when it is open. So please be open and share the thoughts, ideas with us. Now, going to Mr. Prashant Kumar Gupta, sir. He is a solution provider, and Shriram Veritech is since last 30 years, I believe, providing wonderful solutions to the industry. So thank you so much, sir, for all your contribution. The question coming to me, sir, that as per your ASPA and CRISIL, the organization, they say that almost 27% of consumers are unaware that the product was counterfeit at the time of purchase. So do you think these criminals are smartly using the technology? Or what's the reason, sir?
Thank you. Okay, criminals are never smarter than the custodians. So the only thing which actually happens is when when you don't integrate the right kind of brand protection technologies, solutions, and at a scale which actually helps the consumer. Primarily, if you'll see, it is not about how you are protecting the brand alone. It is about, as Mr. Amit said, that it is about creating the awareness, but it is a challenge. Now, at the same time, any brand protection solution, it works in two ways. One, it provides a deterrence to the counterfeit. So security always work like a deterrent. If you are having a strong anti-counterfeiting solutions integrated with your packaging and supply chain, then you are creating a deterrent to the counterfeits. And the moment you create that kind of deterrent to the counterfeits, you are ensuring that your packs or your consumers are protected against counterfeits. So it is like having a security guard at your, if you're living in a society, then if the security guard itself is not there, so anything can happen, right? So security is not to fight. Security is to deter. So more the security, better the security, more meaningful is the security, and very well integrated and embedded within the packaging and the supply chain. That is where the counterfeits get defeated.
Makes sense.
So instead of, there are two sides of the coin. So this is something which actually is very important.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I'll come to Sanjay Ghoshal. He's the Senior General Manager and Head of Packaging. You all know that. He represents the company Diageo, celebrating life every day, everywhere. So, Sanjay, the question to you that over 200 brands and nearly 180 plus countries, your product is there. So, how do you take up this issue? How do you create the deterrence and how do you protect your brand?
Okay, so sorry, I got a bad voice today because of cold. So, while both Amit and Prashant talked about the generic cure or the generic mitigations to counterfeiting, right? So maybe, I would like to slightly focus on the Alcobev business. Now, in Alcobev business, Alcobev is that unique set of the overall FMCG universe, which is very different from rest of the FMCG part because it is a highly controlled item within a country. Coming to India, there are lots of control over what you can do in terms of brand protection and what you cannot do. So, as a category, as a segment, we are continuously looking for brand protection solutions which are approved, as well as that gives us the optimum benefit in terms of the protection of our brands against counterfeiting, right? So we look at two kinds of solutions. I think my previous two speakers kind of alluded to it. We use both covert, overt, as well as something called forensic methods, right? Because there are controls, we can't do anything that we want. So in terms of covert, we are continuously doing stuff which we use to figure out whether our products are in the market are counterfeit or not. We have an investigation team and we continuously use them to find out. For overt ones, which are available to consumers, for the consumers to check, like a QR code or like any kind of color changing patch or any kind of specific, touch feel which tells you that this is like you do in your currency notes. We continuously use those technologies to create consumer awareness whether they are buying a counterfeit product or not. And the third level, which is the highest level, where we use a forensic method, which actually goes to the lab to figure out whether its product is counterfeit or not. So I think we use these three levels of technologies, which is though controlled by the local excise and government, but still we use judiciously, pragmatically, a mix of this covert, overt, and forensic solutions to eventually create a brand protection solution mix for the Alcobev industry.
Makes sense, yeah. Thank you so much, Sanjay. Now, I'd like to come to Mr. Ashish Anand, sir, with your new smart DNA technologies and non-clonable. Do you think, sir, all these ideas and the deterrence and the technologies what Sanjay mentioned just now we are using, please check the mic, are they enough to manage this challenge, sir, or you have some more ideas to add on?
Thank you. We are watching this space since last 1 decade. And once we go for the variety of the anti-counterfeit, brand protection, high security printing, events and all. What we hear is that the one overt means the multiple combinations of the overts and the covert that the industry at large is trying. And the world has already failed with all these options. Like your packaging team remains busy around the year experimenting with the various combinations of the overts and the covert features, and finally nothing works. And you keep on spending the hidden cost on the legal investigations, ground investigations, and the things like that. One very very evident deficiency that I should point out is that nowadays the biggest threat is from the insiders, and the insider threat and the connivance, they can easily manipulate all layer of your multi-layer security. Like somebody is using hologram, somebody is using Guriacho, somebody is using variety of sparsity inks, raised printings, and all, right? And they themselves create the false alarms on your back end, and then they hand twist you for the ground investigations and assignments. So the brands are actually I will like to say the word called blackmailed by their own supply chain partners, ground investigation agencies, and this keeps on going, and we keep on blaming the consumers that the consumer is not proactive in the joining our authentication ecosystem. But our market research shows that it's not about the consumer being apathetic. It's the consumer is completely demotivated. Same QR code comes original, same QR code comes suspect. So they just see as an public posturing, and they will never join your ecosystem. So please understand, this is the time of the empowerment and transparency, and the consumer is not going to be happy and satisfied if you just say something suspect and you do your investigation in the back end and all. Those kind of the time are gone.
Yeah, thank you, Ashish. That is quite a valid point. With this, I would like to go to Mr. Tithankar. He is a technical marketing leader and RFID solution at Avery Dennison.
Thank you.
Tithankar, you listen to all our experts, the thoughts, the ideas, what exactly they are doing. Since you are RFID expert and Avery Dennison also has various other solutions, so what's your thought on that? Is RFID or something new is going to help the industry in protecting the brands?
Thank you. I would like to start by saying that I think packaging is one of the segments where we're going to see a lot of changes in the future. We're already seeing this in North America and Europe, which are developed markets. And I'm happy to say that RFID is going to play a huge part in this revolution. Because in this digital age, we need to make sure that every physical asset has a digital identity, because we need to monitor the life cycle of that product, right? From a sustainability point of view, from a supply chain point of view, and productivity point of view, and also recalls if there are diseases or a bad batch of products in the system. So these are one of the interesting, I think packaging is where we're going to see multiple technologies. We have done a survey, and I think of all the technologies that we're looking into, RFID is the one which is going to enable what we call the digital trigger for the next revolution. And we are already seeing this in India to an extent. For example, a brand like Amrut, which is into whiskey manufacturing, they're already using RFID for their packaging for brand authentication as well as protection of their product. Just very recently, they had come out with a Fusion X Amrut limited edition bottles, which were all RFID enabled. So even if that is a collector's item and it goes for auction, you want to understand that's the authentic bottle. It helps in that vision. So yes, these are exciting times. I think we're going to see a lot of new technologies in packaging, which are going to enable visibility as well as traceability, right? From again a sustainable point of view as well.
Thank you so much. By the way, let us know what exactly is the new digital passport product of Avery Dennison.
I mean, it's a fancy term, to be very frank. So it basically means that every asset is going to have a digital identity. For example, we have a customer, Adidas, right, on a platform called Atma.io, where each and every product has a digital identity. And actually, from a child labor perspective, we track where the production is happening, where is it sold. Also, if that item which is supposed to be sold in Europe, is it sold in Asia, then it's a counterfeit. So it's an identity created for every physical asset which is out there. And I think that is going to be the game changer, because if you want to trace the life cycle of a product, every physical item needs to have that digital identity to track it. So it's that revolution where everything's digitized to enhance visibility. So that's what that term basically means.
Makes sense, makes sense. So any question, audience, any thought, any ideas? Raise your hand, shout out. Anyone?
I think I'll just give a food for thought here. Content.
Go ahead.
So when you talk about counterfeit, there are two kinds of counterfeit. One is, which is, one of my boss, he was a Britisher, and he came to me and he said, someone was trying to sell me today a watch, and he called it genuine fake. So he was using both the terms together, genuine, fake. So that is a product which will look like the original one, right? It will be ditto. It will be a twin brother. But the other kind of counterfeit is which is like, for example, Bisleri. So it will be called Bisleri. It will look like Bisleri, but it will not call himself Bisleri. It will call itself Bisleri or Bisley or whatever, something like that. So these are the two kinds of counterfeit. One is look-alike and one is the genuine fake, kind of the first copy or the genuine fake. So these are the two kind of products. And really, I have seen fake products having hologram and genuine product do not having hologram. So if you try to promote hologram as the real authentic thing, then you are again at loss, because if your product is not having hologram but the fake product has, then consumer will tend to buy the fake as presuming it to be genuine. So I think that is very important to, when you sit on a desk and try to, as a packaging development guy, if you want to really develop and provide a solution, it should be such that it is easily identified by the consumer. Even putting yes, RFID is very good for traceability. I think what you mentioned is for, if something product is meant for Europe and sold in Asia, then they need a traceability. But for authentication of a genuine product, I think it is more important that we really sit together and understand consumer mentality and focus on consumer awareness. Because in fact, in my previous organization, we had a scheme. We were giving a scratch label, where you can actually scratch on the label. There was a mobile number mentioned, and you have to SMS the code on that mobile number, and you will get maybe 20 rupees or 25 rupees as a bonus, something like that. But it never worked. I'll tell you, this campaign was run for a year, and not a single SMS was received. So it was all waste. So I think we really have to connect with the consumer, understand the consumer behavior, and then decide on an authenticating methodology wherein you try to prove that your product is the genuine one. So I think that's the food for thought. Maybe.
Thank you.
Like, for example, this mic. This mic is genuine. I think this is fake. Huh?
It's fake.
Fake mic.
Let's replace that. Let's take the question from...
Sorry, Conan. Before question, I have just one thing to add to what he said, because we have lots of time, I guess.
Hello.
Questions. So, see, we talked about different kinds of solutions. You pick and choose depending on what you want to do with your consumers and depending what suits your segment. I think there's also one thing which is very important, which I think we very remotely kind of made mention of, but I think it's very important for us to remember that there's something called life cycle management of counterfeiting solutions. Because, see, the counterfeiters are always going to be smarter than the brand owners, because they are not operating in within any framework of compliance, right? They are far more flexible, they'll be far more smart, and perhaps that business is much bigger than the original business, which we don't know as of now. There's no actual factual count of that, but perhaps they're even bigger than us. So I think what is important is that we keep changing we keep moving from solution A to B, and we keep straddling that ladder and make it more and more difficult, because Prashant just spoke about something called deterrence, right? Can you prevent? Perhaps no. Can you completely mitigate? Perhaps no. What you can do is you can create degree of deterrence, degree of difficulty for the counterfeiter to actually catch up with you. So one of them is solution. The solution itself is more and more complex and difficult. Other is how you keep changing, so that by the time the counterfeiters catch up, you have moved on to a different solution. So life cycle management of anti-counterfeit solutions is very, very important. I think that should be kept in mind before you start designing your set of solutions.
Makes sense. Thank you. Please give a big round of applause to Sanjay.
I've got one thing to add. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, please go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
No. Okay, sorry. So, see, as Sanjay and Amit said, I think there is a start when you fight it out or when you secure your brand. There is a start. The start happens when you design the solution correctly. The problem at most of the time brand faces, or anyone within the stakeholders they face, is that they find at the end of the day the solution is not working. It's just not working. So but if the solutions are available and they are commercialized and they are being used for years together, so it means it is something, it's working for someone, but it's not working for some others. So the first point, which actually is the beginning, is that designing a solution correctly. And that designing a solution should take care of present and future, at least some number of years, till you again upgrade or update that solution, as Sanjay said. Now, what counterfeiters does, they go after the lowest hanging fruit. Now, which all are the lowest hanging fruits? The brands or the packs which are unprotected. They are not having any kind of protection and they are big ones. So for them, they are the easy targets, sitting ducks. And that is how they, populate themselves, and that is where sometimes that Amit said, they put their fake hologram on the original and says, I am original. Because brands are also not doing enough. Sorry, but brands are also not doing enough to make sure that the deterrence is in place, so that if someone thinks about copying or counterfeiting the product, he or she has to put in extra efforts, which obviously at a low margin product or a fake product which will have a lesser margin and the scalability is also lower, he and she will actually, at one point they will leave that brand and move on to someone who's still the lowest hanging fruit in the market. That is how they work. So designing a solution where the identification, authentication, and verification, yes, no doubt, all three elements have to be there. It's not only about overt, covert, and forensic, but when you design a solution, then you have to take care of whether my solution can be identified, not making it obvious, but it has to be there, which can be identified by the consumer. Secondly, whether it can be authenticated, and third, whether this can be verified. So it is not obvious which will happen. You put QR codes, you put holograms, but how many of us actually checks it? No one checks it. Hardly 1 or 2% or 3% of the maximum, consumers would be checking, or the stakeholders would be checking whether this has got hologram or this has got QR code, whether I should check it, not check it. So it is something to do with the designing of a solution which should not get missed out. Identification, authentication, and verification should be the part of your designing a solution, so that it makes sense and it creates a stronger deterrent to the counterfeits.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I think it's quite a valid point. This gentleman has a question.
Yeah. Rajesh Gera, packaging recycling consultant. Just wanted to know what are the anti-counterfeiting solutions available for thermoformed packages, bottles we are aware, which are commercially available and which can be used by the brand owners, irrespective of whatever is the packaging material being used. So what are those solutions for thermoformed packages? Thank you.
Maybe Amit, you will take?
So when you talk about thermoform packaging, there are, as a lot of them mentioned that, there are color indicators, or if it is printed, then you can have printing solutions, or if you can put an hologram. But as I mentioned earlier, all these solutions are there, which to be used, but it has to be, awareness has to be created. For example, like just now mentioned that, changing the packaging continuously is also a good idea, because then the counterfeit finds it difficult to catch up. But I had this, experience. So I was buying this one particular medicine which I buy regularly, and they changed the packaging. When I went to buy it, I thought this is fake because I was not aware they have changed. So that also happens. So very importantly, it is like not only for thermoforming, but for any packaging medium that is available. The communication is very important. Yes, RFID tag can be put, or maybe a color added, or anything can be done.
Thanks. Yeah, awareness, well taken. But just wanted to be very specifically wanted to know what are the those solutions which are being commercially used by the brand owners, so which can probably have more utility for the others.
Thank you,
See,
Mr.
when you adopt to a anti-counterfeiting solution, then there has to be a base fundamental material available for it. Now, in this case, thermoforming is something which we are talking about. So, how it can be protected at the end of the day? It can be protected when you make it tamper-proof. So, once you make this packing as a tamper-proof packing, then obviously this tamper-proof will have some media, and this media can be layered with multiple security features. It could be RFID, it could be a QR code, it could be a OVDs. So basically, it is something to do with the tamper-proofing of the pack, so that if someone opens it, it should not be reused, and people should know that this comes with this, with this security. And because once it get populated on the shelves, and obviously people will, start relating to that kind of security.
Thank you.
Makes sense, Sanjay.
See, in pharma, people use these features, brand protection features in the blister packs, right? So you have heard the name of company called Billcare, right? Billcare has this kind of solution where they actually put holographic films as part of your thermoforming film, which then used as part of the blister. So again, as Amit mentioned about lookalikes, right? While you cannot prevent those lookalikes, but at least you can create some degree of deterrence. And as Prashant mentioned, sorry. As Prashant mentioned that people, the counterfeiters go for the lowest hanging fruits. Maybe they'll leave aside the one which has some degree of deterrence to something which has got nothing.
Thanks. Sanjay, any idea, some indication on what kind of percentage cost increases the holographic film, like Billcare?
They're reasonably more expensive than a regular PVDC coated film, and Billcare as it is more expensive. So it is expensive, but again, this is a very big debate, perhaps the biggest debate in the world, that what is the ROI of any anti-counterfeit solution.
Right? That apart.
जिसका कोई answer शायद नहीं है, and it is perhaps not in this.
Not for ROI, I generally wanted to.
But it will be more expensive, certainly 30-40% more expensive, okay, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. There's a question from the lady in the back. Yeah, first we'll go back. Give the mic to the lady. Please tell your name and the question.
Hi, good morning all. I'm Roshali from Piramal Consumer Care. I have a question for Mr. Tirthankar. So currently I'm using RFIDs and NFC for the luxury and the big brands. What are your views on using RFIDs and NFCs for food and pharma products? And how cost efficient will that be?
Great question, first of all. We see RFID implementation, if we see across the globe, right, it goes through phases. The first is always retail. So we look at the maturity of a region based on the adoption of RFID in retail space. Right? If you see US and Europe, the RFID penetration in retail is about 85 to 95%. Right? So that developed. So if you see in those markets, FDA has a requirement where some pharmaceutical products which are being exported from India are RFID enabled for traceability and for supply chain management, right? And also for their FDA requirements. So those are the developed markets where the pharma and food, for example, in Japan is one of the biggest market for RFID for food, because the RFID labels go on fresh food items which have an expiry, right? And when they take it off from the shelf, it goes to the microwave, they heat it and they eat it, right? So in developed markets, we are already seeing that RFID has a lot to play with respect to monitoring food wastage, the health of the food, and the I would say freshness of these food items. In India, the story I think for RFID in pharma is already taking off. We have a few clients, but again, those are because of the compulsions of the export market requirements, not because they want to implement it internally because of the costing. But what we are seeing is that retail is a segment which is maturing, and quite a few top brands in India are heavily invested into RFID. The big e-commerce players are into RFID. And we are going to see that once the maturity in retail is done, then we're going to see a lot of that play in food, in pharma. Those are the two, I would say, big segments after retail. So it's going to take time in India, to be very frank. Probably we'll see more, because it needs to do with food wastage, consumer awareness, sustainability, and it's all clubbed together. Probably in another 3-4 years, we will see more active play of RFID in food, especially in food in India, for reducing wastage.
Thank you so much. Give a big round of applause. Yeah, please go ahead, this lady.
Hello, my name is Rajeshri Pardeshi from Glenmark Pharmaceutical. So I have a question here to all of you. For e-commerce, how do we avoid that anti-counterfeiting? Because majorly nowadays we are more glued to Amazon and the Flipkart, where it is found that the anti-counterfeiting is majorly happening there. So how should we avoid that? Though we are providing we are taking care of the brand protection, so whatever you guys have said here, like RFID and the hologram and some of the suppliers, they are using all the anti-counterfeiting features, though the product is getting counterfeited.
Mr.
How
Prashant,
to
you will take
avoid
it?
and how do we control that e-commerce market?
Thanks for the question. Yes, there has to be an ecosystem which protects your brand, no doubts. We have got a use case, business case scenario where we have already offered such solutions to one of the big giants in FMCG for their e-com platforms. So they are selling their products on e-com, and it's a very unique business case scenario where maybe we can discuss it offline also. But yes, it works actually. And again, it has to be better designed at the end of the day, so that it should not be cracked so very easily. So that is one thing which has to be there, and then there has to be an integrated approach. What happens that everybody, or normally what we have seen is that people work in isolation. Every technology works in isolation. QR code will say QR code is better, hologram will say hologram is better, and then RFIDs and NFCs and in the market. So primarily when we have got this approach where we integrate different technologies into one, the convergence happens, and then it creates a strongest of deterrence to the counterfeits. So that, and because one fails, another takes over. So it is something like that where it has to be looked from a very, very different level of understanding when you design a solution for protecting your pack or a product or the brand. So yeah, we can discuss it offline. So I can share a few things about how this was done and what was the benefits the brand could take. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would like to meet you in personal then.
Thank you so much.
And also, just to add, first of all, that's a great question, because I think that is what the big e-com players are concerned about. There's a huge loss from that angle. And we are working with the biggest e-com player here in India. So if you see certain products, and we implemented this last year with Myntra as a start-off brand, right? If you order products from Myntra right now, which are high ASP, it'll be coming with a tie tag, cable tie tag, along with a RFID tag. Okay, what happens is, and that RFID tag has a unique identification number, which is not clonable. So what people used to, before they used QR code, they used barcode, but again, those are again clonable, it's not 100% secure. Using the cable tie with RFID, even if somebody cuts off the cable and puts in a different RFID tag, the system will not pick it up. So it's a hardware plus a software play, right? And that is stored on the cloud. So by changing the RFID also, it's not going to work. That unique number is associated with the backend in the cloud. And for a very one of the big footwear brands, it was a huge problem where they were seeing that they were ordering that brand, but customers were returning it, and they were returning a fake product. So when that product was returned to this e-com website and they were delivering it back to the brand was saying that these are not our products. Now, an average delivery person who's delivering these products has no idea with respect to whether it's an authentic brand or not. Right? So what happens is at the time of return pickup, they will actually scan that tag and see if it's connected to their ecosystem and give the exact details, color, code, blah, 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 blah. And if they cut it and put a different tag, it's not going to accept, and they're not going to accept the return. So to that extent, that particular brand was very happy with the solution which was implemented, where it reduced their, I would say, counterfeit returns from customers. Because what you see that normally people, when they buy clothing or footwear, they generally order 3-4 sizes, and then whatever's working, and they send back the rest, right? So this is something which we have tried out with Myntra, and it's very successful. Almost like 99% accuracy with respect to return products, and also returns management, which is another big pain point for these e-com websites.
But the challenge here is we are into healthcare, and our target audience is all. So we don't have that particular area.
It makes even better case for healthcare from a ROI aspect. We have a pharmaceutical company based out of South Korea called Hanmi Pharmaceuticals. They are one of the biggest implementers of RFID, right from production to supply chain to distribution, right? If you're interested, we can take you to the factory and show you how it's implemented. But healthcare makes more sense than retail, because retail, the ASP is quite small. But pharma is something where, especially in India, for the next 5 years, we see pharma as one of the leading segments for RFID technology.
Okay.
Just to add, I think the case study that you mentioned about the fake returns, and then now if the consumer wants to return the fake article, it will not get captured. But here we are going with the prejudice that it is the consumer who is actually changing it to fake. What if the supply chain, somebody has changed it? Then the consumer has nothing to scan to check whether when he's receiving it is fake. But when he realizes, after he opens the product, and then he's trying to return, it will not be taken back. So actually, you lose a consumer. So.
Again, that's a very, very good aspect. And actually, what happens in e-com also, there's like a mafia in e-com, internal mafia, which actually replaces these products, right? So it's very difficult. In fact, one of the former head of supply chains for one of these big e-com, that was the biggest problem, where they actually had a duplicate warehouse somewhere near Devanahalli, where they were replacing these products, and it was a thing between the delivery boy, the warehouse manager, blah, blah, blah. So there were checks put in point. I mean, I'm not in a position to disclose what exactly, because it's all under NDA, but that has also been overcome to an extent.
Thank you so much. Any other question from the audience? This gentleman in the blue T-shirt.
Hi, I'm Ram Prasad from Epson. My query is, do any of the brand custodians have a rough idea of what is the percentage of this counterfeits? What is the revenue of this counterfeits? Why I'm asking this question is, again, it is linked to the ROI actually. So
maybe I'll try and pick up this to start the conversation. So see, I mean, I had already mentioned that it's very difficult to assess that how much of your brand is getting counterfeited. For example, if you have a revenue of X, how much of that revenue of that X is actually in the market? Is it 25%? Is it 50? Is it 100%? Or maybe it's more than X, right? So it's very difficult to assess, and also brands don't want to talk about it. It's not good for the health of the brand, right? Because if you create a perception that that your brand has counterfeits, consumer, even if they're buying a genuine one, they would always have that fear that they're perhaps buying a counterfeit, even if they're buying a real one. Third point is, you talked about ROI, right? See, we heard about solutions here, right? I mean, Avery is a very close partner to Diageo in India, and Shriram, we have been knowing for so many years. Amit is so experienced. So my point is, today in India, you almost all the companies are ready to come into India and work with you. So practically all the solutions are available, overt, covert, forensic, a mix of them, as Prashant said, that if one doesn't work, the other kicks in and all that. So it is absolutely right. But I think the most important is the unit economics, right? The biggest deterrent in the speed of adoption in India for solutions which are the right solutions is basically the unit economics, where the business is unable to justify a certain cost add to your to the which gets added to your supply chain cost. The reason behind it is you are unable to define that if you do this, how much of brand protection or how much of counterfeit you are saving. Correct? Because this is, I mean, there are studies in certain brand areas, but this is always a matter of debate. I think India will have to evolve to a certain stage before these numbers are very clear to make proper decisions on the technology that you adopt and the ROI that you get from that.
Thank you so much. I think we are running out of time. Another 3 minutes has been shown here on the screen. So later on, in case you do have more questions, please do interact with our panels. And I would like to go with you all for the last questions, if you can quickly share your thoughts that security, sustainability, and cost effectiveness are the three important pillars of the robust system when we talk about the anti-counterfeiting, etc. But the biggest question, what is coming to me right now when I'm listening to the experts, that do we have the ecosystem ready? So question to you all that in case you have been given a power to create an ecosystem to support whatsoever you're looking for, what exactly would be your ask? Let me start with Mr. Ashish. Is the ecosystem ready, sir? If not, what do you want?
Yeah, my frank submission to the audience here is that currently ecosystem is not ready to showcase the security, sustainability, and the cost effectiveness together. Or we keep struggling with how the Sanjay said, life cycle management, like your packaging has to be modified and modified every quarter or every 6 months. If it has to be modified, let it be modified for the regulation, let it be modified for the sustainability, let it be modified for aesthetics, but not for the security. So of course audit, all these adds to your cost. Let us say that if I put an 50 by 50 holographic label on an 1 million SKU, what is the carbon footprint of that? Right from the manufacturing to the recycling and all those, all those stuffs. And the security has always an overloaded term. We say we just end up by defining security as a deterrence. But our position at the Link Smart has been very, very different. We have not done any life cycle management from last 1.5 years, and we don't plan to do any life cycle. Means our customers don't plan to do any life cycle management for the next couple of years and a very, 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 very long time. Our definition of the security is the performance liability. Like it's not just about the claims that this works or this can work partially, this can work better, or we simply say, and very, very binary statement, each of our non-clonable printed impressions, you go, if you can prove to us now after a quarter, after a year that it is duplicated in the public domain, then the Link Smart has an insurance cover and we have the performance liability for that. So broadly we have taken this kind of the position after analyzing the ecosystem in the India and outside the country as well, that currently the solutions offered don't offer the combination of the security, sustainability, and the cost effectiveness. Thank you.
Amit, 30 seconds.
Yeah, so I think, like Ashish mentioned and Sanjay mentioned, there is no ROI defined for brand protection but if you talk about sustainability, the first most important sustainability is business sustainability. So I think cost effectiveness will be the priority always. Second, because government is pushing, everyone wants to be sustainable in terms of planet protection. I think that will be the second. And the last will be brand protection. Again, going by what Sanjay said, and I also agree, that first brands have to accept that their brands are getting duplicated. But once they do that, they have the risk of the consumer not buying that brand, thinking that it is duplicate. So I think it's a long way to go for brand protection. I think cost effective and sustainability.
Mr. Prashant.
Okay. See, at the end of the day, if this cancer is to be, treated, then government, business, and society, all three of the pillars, have to come together, form the right kind of policies, have the right kind of integration stitched together. Yes, it's a big ask, but I'm sure that if this kind of a menace is to be treated, because the estimate says that $500 billion is an estimated counterfeit market around the world. And India being a growing economy, 3 trillion to 5 trillion, obviously these counterfeits are going to grow. And if we cannot do anything today, or we will not do anything today, then obviously this 5 trillion will have, I don't know how many gray areas. So primarily government, business and societies have to take a hard calls. And as Amit and Sanjay said, possibly brands have to come out and open and accept and acknowledge and measure the kind of damage it is causing to them as well as to the society and consumer in general. So once it is done, I think the intent is clear. But at the end of the day, when everything is behind the curtains, then it's very difficult to work together. So integration and working together is the only way forward we can do it, and we can fight it out. That should not be an issue.
We can do it together.
Thank you.
Sanjay, your last thought.
Yeah, very quickly. So I think almost everything has been said. So I think three things which are very important that I would like to add to what they said is that, first of all, I think we need to continuously drive awareness. I think there are issues of awareness in the country. I think we need to continuously drive conspicuous awareness. The second thing is, let's have data-driven conversations. As of now, most of the conversations are, counterfeit hota hai, acha, let's do something. It's very, very subjective. There are no real data which drive conversations today on brand protection. And the third thing is, I think you have enough and more available in the country. Please leverage. Let's leverage all of that we have. And I think these are the three things which I had to share.
Thank you so much, Tirth.
I think with respect to the ecosystem, when brands and organizations strive for it, I think it will be created. I think we as an organization, we have always step ahead of the regulations. For example, when it comes to carbon neutral, we want to be carbon neutral as an organization by 2050. In India, I think we'll achieve the target by 2030. Even when it comes to our product line, we have something called the AD Pure, which is 100% sustainable RFID inlay for the sustainable conscious customers. So I think it depends on brands and organizations for the internal targets and internal, I would say, to be step ahead of what the government regulations are. And I'm proud to say that as an organization, we always step ahead of what the regional requirements are. And we always make sure that sustainability is one of the main, driving forces in our organization.
Thank you so much. I think I'm sure that you might all have various takeaways. We are running short of time, so you can interact with our panels later, the gentlemen. So for me, the takeaway is something which I would like to share with you all, that we must work in a very collaborative manner. And we must employ the robust anti-counterfeiting solutions to protect brands and consumers in the different layers with the smart, active, and intelligent packaging solutions. And we must use all these solutions as a weapon to protect the brand and the consumer. And we shall adopt a multi-layered approach, as the experts mentioned here, that we must have the different layers of protection, the deterrence, to protect the brand, and also to engage the consumers with the more awareness. That will be helpful. Furthermore, it is essential to have a powerful ecosystem policies in place, because that will give we all the ability to identify the hotspot as well as the real time and take targeted action. And last but not the least, we need to come out from the finger pointing somewhere else. I believe that it's the duty of every citizen and every brand out there in the marketplace. And it is necessary that we stand united together in the battle against the dark world of counterfeit with the data-driven attitude and the approach, as Sanjay just now mentioned. And I would like to close this wonderful panel discussion, though the time was not enough. We do have various other subjects and the topics and the areas to talk. That I'll quote Mr. APJ Abdul Kalam here. He says that the fight for corruption-free ethical society will have to be fought against the greed and replace it with what can I give attitude. Replace greed with give, the service, the serving. Well, as I started the conversation with Lao Zi, he said that the greatest disaster is greed. I don't know how can we solve this issue. It seems to be challenging, but we have to keep always ahead, as our experts mentioned, that be ahead in the curve. Keep on innovating, keep on finding what can be new, which counterfeiters, the criminals cannot copy so easily. And one of the solutions I was reading Mr. Ashish, non-clonable. And also there's a company in France, they have come with some new ideas. Like as soon as someone try to take the picture of the code or whatsoever, they can locate the location of the gentleman wherever it's been happening. So we have to have a collaborative approach with what can I give attitude. And I believe that's the reason that this organization, this event has been organized. And I believe that we all people here with the full of goodness, and we go into the marketplace and do whatsoever we can do best to ensure that the brand is protected. And not only that, remember that every year, because of the counterfeit drugs, 1 million people, they die. We all have the responsibility. I'm sure that we will do whatever bit we can do. So with this, thank you so much, the interactive audience, and please give a big round of applause to our panels, and we'll take a group photograph.